What's going on, guys? Today I've got to change the alternator on my 98. This will work on any model, I believe, with GMC or Chevy from 96 to 99. I believe it's the same process. Super simple though. What happened was as you know, it's getting a little colder, and I had my truck running to try to warm up, and I walked inside, came back out, my truck wasn't on. I got my battery tester out. The battery had volts, however, it was slow to crank, and it wouldn't crank back up. So typically, when that happens, the alternator has gone out, because the alternator charges the battery. And if my truck was running, and then it died, that means the alternator has failed to keep it charging. It was just running on battery power, and that won't let the truck run properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the belt off. I'm going to check out the belt. The belt should be fine. The belt was replaced back when I first bought the truck, which is about 109,000 miles. Right now it only has like 117,000, so the belt should be fine. But it's a super simple process to get this alternator off. What we have is we have two 13mm bolts underneath on the bracket. We've got one 10mm bolt that was, let's see, back here. There it is. It's either a 10 or a 13. I'm going to double check that one. That one's in a hard spot. So what we have to do to get to that one first is we've got to get these two off, belt off, and then tilt this forward without messing up your AC lines, anything like that. So you got to kind of wiggle it up and out, not to mess these up. You can try to move them in these limbs, but it's kind of hard to do that. So we're just going to try to move it forward just to give us enough access right in here to loosen that up. So what you're going to want to do to first get the belt off, you want to take your 3/8 ratchet. I'm using a ratchet. A lot of people use a breaker bar. However, with me messing with this, it looks like I'm probably going to have to replace this belt tensioner anyway, because if you watch, when I put it, there's a little square hole right here. You're gonna ratchet up and push down, and that loosens up the belt. However, if I let go, you see how it doesn't snap fully back into the lock position, like I'd have to physically lift this up. I'm pretty sure my belt tensioner is on its way out as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fully remove this belt. Before I was just gonna pull it off this top pulley and this idler pulley, so that I can fool around in here, but it looks like I'm going to pull it all the way off, both of these, and I'm probably going to have to replace this as well, because I want this to function properly, and with it not springing back into the position, I know that it's on its way out. So either way, all you got to do is loosen this up, pop that off. And see, mine, it's so bad that I can actually take the belt off with one hand because the tensioner doesn't work properly. So we got that off. Very easy. I'm going to go ahead and take mine off while I'm down here, and then we'll work on these two 13mm bolts here and there. All right, now that we got those loose, we have got to break this free. Typically, they're a little bit tough. So you might want to use a pry bar. So I'm probably gonna have to get a pry bar out of my garage because it doesn't feel like this one wants to budge. One thing I had to do to get the proper angle to move this up, because it is very tight through here, and you don't want to, there's another line right here that you don't want to mess up. So what I'm doing is I loosened this hose just a little bit. I just took it out of its little wire loom holder and just kind of slid it up just a smidge like this, just to give me a little bit of room. And I took the pry bar first on this side, lifted it, took it on the front down here on this lip, lifted it, and then wiggled it this way out so that I have enough room to get to about here. So now I can rotate it over. There's a plug right here that we got to get to. Let's see, where's the little... I'm probably gonna have to rotate it over just like that. Yep. And then it's just basically you lift your thumb up on this little tab, push forward, that plug comes out, and now we have full access to this little bolt. I believe it's a 13. Let me see, that's what I have right now. Yes. So it's a 13 right here. And it is tight. Get it in a safe little spot. So it's on a stud, so that means I need to get a 13 wrench as well. I'll take my wrench, take my ratchet. And we're loose. Not too difficult. Just a little bit of finagling, because like I said, it's a very tight space. And you don't want to mess anything up. So, now we take that off. We're good. I can now remove this out, because you want to take it, when you go buy your new one, you want to take this up to them so you can get to that core charge. One thing I forgot to mention, I did it just naturally, but if you're going to be working on the alternator, you need to disconnect the negative terminal on your battery. Like I said, I did it naturally. I forgot to let y'all know, but that's what you need to do very first thing before you go messing with this, just so everything stays smooth and doesn't get any mess up codes or anything like that. So just remember. Just to give y'all a shot at the parts I just got back with, we got our new alternator and we got our new tensioner pulley. You may or may not have to get one of these as well, but they're not too bad. It was, I think, 40 or 50 bucks for this car. This is a 5.7, so I would assume if you have a smaller motor in this model truck, then it'll probably be a little bit cheaper, but not by much. So about 40, 50 bucks for this. This ran me about $135, so not terrible. Especially if you were to take it to a shop, it's going to be way more. But you probably couldn't hear it on the last, when I was spinning the other alternator, but that one squeaked and made a little grinding noise. This one is super smooth and it's very, very quiet. So I'm hoping this fixes our issue. This is definitely going to fix one of the issues we had that I didn't even know we had. So I am going to reinstall this. I'm probably going to clean the bay a little bit and make sure it's nice and cleaned up. It's a little bit dirty because it's never been removed, but I'm going to clean this up and then we're going to reinstall this. So first things first, since I have the alternator off, I'm going to install the tensioner pulley first, just because it's easier to get to. Good thing is the new tensioner pulley came with a new bolt and a new washer. So I'm going to do that instead of reusing the old one. And it's really simple to install this. You have this circle and you have this little dowel spot that matches up perfectly with this down here. Let me see if I can get that shot of it down there. It's kind of hard to see. See if I can turn this upside down. You might be able to see it. It's a little bit tough. It's a little tight spot, but right there, it's just gonna fit perfectly in that little spot. There's really only one way it'll sit flush. So put it in there. Going around the fan's a little bit tricky, but Once you do that, you just thread it in. I believe this was a 13 millimeter as well. That new bolt though, the old bolt is a 13, but the new bolt is not. So we gotta step it up just a little bit. So the new bolt is a 16. I don't know if it's the same with all sets, but with this one that I got from AutoZone, it is a 16. Yeah. See how that one snaps back into place? This one's working properly. My old one was going out. The new alternator came with a new bolt, or new nut, I should say. So we're going to use that one. So we're going to set this right here. Set the cable right on top. I'm going to hand thread this down just so we're not worried about the cable popping off. This should be hopefully the same. Let's see. This one is a 13 still. Wrench. Right into place, nice and snug. I'm gonna bring our rubber grommet back over. Cover that up. Now we've got to kind of finagle this back in. As difficult as it was coming out, I assume. Now, let's see. Looks like I can get this side in first. I always want to try to get one side in before the other. Because it's a good point of reference now. Because now that I have this in, tilt the back, get this lined up. Now it's going to be easier for me to adjust this side, and it may just need a couple bumps like this to get into place. Now we got everything snug back up. What I'm going to do now is make sure our AC line is back in its proper little loom. And this belt. It is very important that you make sure you put this belt back on right. I only pulled it off these first two pulleys. I didn't fully remove it. But what I got to do is I got to make sure it sits on this idler pulley correctly and the alternator correctly. If you need a reference point, typically, if your truck's not too old and it hadn't been messed with too much, it's going to have this sticker up front giving you a diagram of the pulley system. If not, there's plenty of these diagrams online you'll be able to look up for your motor, but it's typically up there on the front. So we're going to take this, I'll wrench it, make sure bump our tensioner down, get our belt over that. Want to make sure where your old grooves are on your idler, you line that pulley back up on it. Very good. Nice tight fit. So now I release the tension off my tensioner pulley. Now I'm going to go around to each of my pulleys. There's your big one down here on the bottom. Then you have your small one. where the fan goes right here in the middle. And you just want to kind of feel each of the points of contact where the belt touches the wheel or the pulley to make sure that that pulley and that belt are nicely set. Because if not, you will throw the belt when you go to crank up the vehicle. So I'm just right now, everything looks right. This one may need to come back just the hair right there. Let's come back just a little bit more. Right there. That looks to be correct. It matches our diagram on the front. And now it is reinstalled. Very simple process. Just make sure you take your time and do it. Don't rush it because you want to do it properly. So, I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.